Hey guys, it's Stacey. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a part 2 of a video I did kind of a while ago that you guys seem to really enjoy. So here we are again. I'm going to be showing you guys my top 10 favorite Christian movies that I've recently watched and that I would really recommend for you guys to watch as well. So let's just get straight into the video. The first movie I have for you is called Run. This movie is one about like human trafficking. So basically it's about this man who marries the love of his life, and she is a journalist who reports on like human trafficking, and she wants to like expose it and everything. And then on her wedding night, she's kidnapped by these traffickers and is sold to slavery by the people that she was investigating. And when her husband goes to the authorities and kind of tells them that it must be the traffickers, they just don't want to listen to him and they're not like very helpful. So he goes on a journey to go and look for his wife himself. It's kind of like one of those movies where your heart is racing the entire time, and I love movies like that because it just makes it so interesting. And during this time, the wife is praying and she's just trusting in God that he won't let her be transported out of the country before someone comes to save her. And it's just really interesting. And if you guys didn't know, Human Trafficking Awareness Day was the 9th of January this year, and I think it's so important to educate ourselves on important topics like this that go around every day. It's Dove rated 12+ because obviously it involves like trafficking and stuff like that. The second movie I'll recommend is God Bless the Broken Road, and this is a movie that someone else recommended to me on my other video, so I decided to watch that as well, and it was so good. And basically it's about this woman who loses her husband to the war in Afghanistan, and she's just a single mom with her 9-year-old daughter. So this car driver comes into the town and they become like really close friends with him, and then something happens at the end which I'm not going to tell you guys. It's just such an interesting movie, but I can't say a lot obviously because I'm going to spoil it for you. And then she rediscovers her faith after she just kind of left God after her husband died. Understandably, she was very like angry at God because her husband died, and she rediscovers her faith, and then something happens at the end which I'm not going to spoil for you because you have to watch that yourself. This movie is Dove rated all ages, and 89% of the people who watched this movie loved it. The second movie is Dog Jack. This one is so good. I'm gonna say this for all the movies, but like that's the truth. And this one is about like slavery, and I love those kind of like old-fashioned slavery movies because they can actually be like really good. And this one is basically about this boy and his dog who escaped like their master's plantation field to join the army to like fight against his like former master on like the battlefield. And it's actually inspired by a true story, and it's basically about his journeys, and it's actually so interesting. And at the end there is a massive twist, and I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to spoil the entire movie for you, so I'll leave you to guys to watch that. It's such a good movie. 10 out of 10 recommend it. This movie is Dove rated a 12+, and 78% of the people who watched it loved it. The next movie is called The Encounter. It's not exactly a movie, but it's actually like a series. They have a movie version of this, but I didn't like that one that much because it was kind of slow moving. So it's like several life scenarios, and then Jesus steps in to help each of these situations and bring the people together. So it's actually really interesting. On New Faith Network, they're like doing a new episode every week or every day, I'm not sure. I'm on season 1 right now, and it's so interesting so far about like different people and different scenarios, and then this guy who like acts out as Jesus brings these people together every single time. And this movie is Dove rated a 12+, and 98% of the people who watched this movie loved it. The next movie is I Can Only Imagine. This is so good. If you like listen to Mercy Me, it's basically like main singer, his like story in this movie. He suffers physical and emotional abuse from his father, and when his father becomes terminally ill, he finds redemption by forgiving his father, and he rediscovers his faith and his love for God like as he was a child. Years later, after all this has happened, all of his like traumatic childhood experiences prompts him to write a song called I Can Only Imagine. And this song blows up. Like, it has so many views on YouTube right now. So I've listened to the song before I actually watched the movie, and I didn't actually know that was like the meaning behind the song. And it's such an emotional movie, and I would really recommend that you watch it. It's Dove rated an all age movie, and 93% of the people who watched it really enjoyed it. The next movie is Wild Faith, and This is one of those kind of like old-fashioned movies that are really good, and I love those movies, as I've said before. And it's basically about this Civil War veteran who returns to his home looking for peace after the Civil War. And basically what happens in the Civil War, his friend who is dying asks him to take care of his wife. He brings back the widow and his daughter to stay with him and his son. And obviously around this time there was still like a lot of racism, and the town people weren't very happy with like this interracial family, and they will do anything just to make their lives hard. A mysterious turn of events provides him and his family an unexpected help that they need to overcome. And again, there is another twist in this story which I cannot say, which is really annoying, because these movies are actually a lot better than I'm making them sound, just because I can't say the twist at the end. This movie is Dove rated a 12+, and 79% of the people who watched it loved it. The next movie is In the Name of God, and this movie is really interesting. It's like one of the movies like recommended for teens. And this one is about this guy who has been bouncing from like different foster care homes to another foster care home. Then he comes into like this family, and the family's son doesn't really like the foster kid because he has just lost his brother, and he feels like the family are just trying to like replace his brother with this random foster kid. So the foster child kind of feels like, obviously, if you've been bouncing from different foster care homes to different foster care homes, he kind of feels like they're just going to move him on when he makes a mistake and move him on to different families. So he's obviously making it really difficult for them. He starts attending like this support group, like a Christian support group, and there he learns about God and he becomes a Christian. And one of those movies that have a really happy ending and that I really love. So I really recommend this movie. It's really interesting, and it's Dove rated all ages, and 86% of the people who watched this movie loved it. The next movie is 23 Blast, and if you love sports, I'm telling you, you will love this movie. It's basically about this like football star. He's such a good football player. He's like the best football player on their team, and he's stricken with this reversible total blindness and he cannot see at all. And he has to decide whether to kind of live a safe and protected life, not like to do sports and just like stop everything he was doing before, or whether to continue a sport even though he's blind. And he eventually continues playing football, and it's actually so crazy. I watched the movie and I was like, what? He has so much courage. And this movie is actually a true story which is based on Travis Freeman's, and this movie is Dove rated a 12+, and 89% of the people who watched it loved it. The next movie is called I Believe, and this one is about a 9-year-old boy who has an encounter with God, an experience that sent him on like an adventurous quest to find out more about like what Christians believe. And his parents are atheists and they aren't too happy about this, especially his father, who is an atheist TV newscaster, and the last thing that he wants is his son learning about Christianity and learning about God. But this boy has an encounter with God and he's determined to learn more about Christians and learn more about God and get to know God more. And this movie kind of encouraged me a lot in my faith. Like, if this 9-year-old boy can pursue a relationship with God even if he hasn't grown up in a Christian household, then like how much more me. This movie is Dove rated all ages, and 87% of the people who watched it loved it. The next movie is A Question of Faith, and this one is about a boy who gets like run over by this teenage girl, and at the same time while he is in hospital there is another girl who is a young singer who collapses while auditioning for like a record label. It basically brings all three families together in an unexpected way. So the girl who ran over the boy, her family, and the little boy's family, and also the singer's family, brings all of them together, and it's just a happy ending. And I love this movie and I would really recommend it. That is the end of the video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. If you have any other movie suggestions, be sure to comment them down below, because I really need to watch more movies right now. And yeah, God bless and goodbye.
I can see the blessings coming our way.